Rochelle Bennett sat on the floor of her cramped studio apartment, her prosthetic leg propped against the wall beside her, her natural leg tucked beneath her. Bills surrounded her like accusing witnesses. Red stamps screamed "Final Notice" from every envelope. Her hands trembled as she counted the cash one more time, hoping the number would somehow change. $23. That was all she had left in the world. The eviction notice on her door gave her 5 days. 5 days to come up with $2,000 or be thrown onto the street. The medical bills from her prosthetic adjustments last month had drained her savings. Her mother's own medical debt meant Rochelle couldn't ask for help there. Her younger brother James was barely managing college tuition. There was nobody to call, nowhere to turn. 3 hours ago she'd lost her job. The memory made her stomach clench. Mr. Peterson, the store manager, had called her into his office with that tight, uncomfortable expression people wore when they were about to hurt you but wanted to pretend they felt bad about it. "Rochelle, you're a good worker," he'd started, and she'd known immediately what was coming. "But we've had several customer complaints." "What kind of complaints?" she'd asked, though she already knew. "Some customers have expressed discomfort with your leg situation. They've said it makes them uncomfortable when you help them in the shoe department." The irony wasn't lost on her. A one-legged woman fired from selling shoes because her disability made people squeamish. "I can work in a different department," she'd offered, hating the pleading note in her voice. "Electronics, household goods, anywhere." Mr. Peterson had shaken his head. "I'm sorry. Corporate wants to maintain a certain image. I have to let you go." She hadn't cried then. She'd walked out with her head high, collected her final paycheck, and made it all the way home before the tears came. Now, 3 hours later, she was still crying. Rochelle looked at the $23 again. She needed that money for food, for bus fare to job interviews, for everything. But she also needed internet access to search for jobs, and her phone data was gone. The library was closed for renovations all week. She made a decision that felt both foolish and necessary. She would go to that fancy cafe downtown, the one with the beautiful windows and the free Wi-Fi. She would buy the cheapest thing on the menu, nurse it for hours, and apply to every job she could find online. It was wasteful. It was probably stupid. But it was all she could think to do. Rochelle reattached her prosthetic leg, wincing at the soreness where it connected to her residual limb. She needed to see her prosthetist again, but that cost money she didn't have. She pulled on her favorite green cardigan over her white shirt and grabbed her worn laptop bag. The bus ride downtown took 40 minutes. Rochelle watched the city change through the window, buildings getting taller and cleaner as they moved toward the business district. People here walked faster, dressed better, smiled less. She felt out of place before she even got off the bus. The cafe was called Harmony House, and it was even more intimidating up close. Through the huge windows, she could see business people in expensive suits, women with designer handbags, everyone looking successful and settled. For a moment, Rochelle almost turned around. But she had 5 days until eviction. 5 days to change her life. She pushed through the door. The warmth hit her first, then the smell of fresh coffee and baked goods. Her stomach growled. She'd eaten cereal for breakfast and nothing since. The cheapest item on the menu board was a small black coffee at $4.50. Nearly a quarter of her remaining money. Rochelle ordered it and found a corner to wait, trying not to notice how people's eyes snagged on her prosthetic leg. She'd worn pants, but the slight unevenness of her gait always gave it away. When her coffee came, she took her laptop and looked for a place to sit. Every table was full. Panic fluttered in her chest. She couldn't stand here like a fool, and she couldn't leave without using the Wi-Fi. She scanned the room desperately, and that's when she saw them. A man in a crisp blue suit sat at a corner table, his dark hair slightly messy as he leaned down to listen to the little girl beside him. The child, maybe 7 or 8 years old, wore a bright red dress and was talking animatedly about something, her hands gesturing wildly. They had papers spread between them, drawings it looked like. There were 2 empty chairs at their table. Rochelle's heart pounded. She didn't belong in their world. That much was obvious from the man's expensive watch and the way he carried himself with easy confidence. But she had no choice. She walked over, her prosthetic leg making its familiar slight clicking sound against the floor. The man looked up as she approached, and she saw his eyes, warm brown and kind. "Excuse me," Rochelle said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm so sorry to bother you, but everywhere else is full. Can I sit here?" The moment stretched out. The man's gaze dropped briefly to her prosthetic leg, and Rochelle braced herself for the rejection, the discomfort, the polite but firm no. Instead he smiled. Not a pitying smile or an uncomfortable one. Just a genuine warm smile. Of course, he said and stood to pull out a chair for her. Please join us. I'm Nathan and this is my daughter Chloe. The little girl beamed at her. Hi. Do you like unicorns? I'm drawing unicorns. Something inside Rochelle's chest cracked open. She sat down carefully, settling her laptop bag on the floor. I love unicorns. Thank you so much for letting me sit here. No problem at all, Nathan said, sitting back down. He gestured to his daughter's drawings. We're having our Saturday art session. It's become our tradition. Rochelle opened her laptop, intending to immediately start her job search and ignore them politely. But Chloe was pushing one of her drawings across the table. This one's my favorite, the girl said. The unicorn is blue because blue is magic. It's beautiful, Rochelle said honestly. The drawing showed a bright blue unicorn with a rainbow mane, standing in a field of flowers. You're very talented. Thank you. What's your name? Rochelle. That's a pretty name. How come you have a robot leg? Chloe, Nathan said gently, a slight warning in his tone. But Rochelle smiled. Children's honesty was always easier than adult discomfort. I was in a car accident when I was younger. I lost my leg but I got this special leg instead. It helps me walk. Does it hurt? Sometimes, Rochelle admitted. I'm sorry it hurts, Chloe said with such simple sincerity that Rochelle felt tears prick her eyes. But it looks really cool. Like you're part robot. Thank you, sweetie. Nathan was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Not pity. Something else. Something that made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. Are you job hunting? He asked, nodding at her laptop. Rochelle hesitated, then nodded. There was no point in lying. Yes. I just lost my position. What field are you in? Retail mostly. But I'm open to anything right now. I see. Nathan seemed to consider something. Well, I hope you find something soon. Thank you. Rochelle turned to her laptop, determined not to burden these kind strangers with her problems. She pulled up job sites and started scrolling through listings. Administrative assistant, customer service representative, warehouse worker. She applied to anything and everything, crafting cover letters as fast as she could type. An hour passed. Chloe continued drawing, occasionally showing Rochelle her work. Nathan seemed to be reviewing documents on his tablet. It was peaceful in a way Rochelle hadn't experienced in months. Like being part of a family, even temporarily. Her stomach growled loudly. Rochelle pressed her hand against it, embarrassed. Have you eaten lunch? Nathan asked. I'm fine, Rochelle said automatically. When did you last eat? She didn't answer. Nathan caught the attention of a server. Can we see menus, please? Oh no, I couldn't, Rochelle started, but Nathan held up a hand. Please. Consider it payment for letting us enjoy your company. Chloe gets bored when it's just the two of us. I do not, Chloe protested. But I like Rochelle. She should eat with us. The server brought menus. Rochelle stared at the prices, her heart sinking. The cheapest sandwich was $12. She couldn't accept. She shouldn't. But her stomach growled again and she thought of the $23, of the eviction notice, of how long it had been since she'd had a real meal. The turkey sandwich looks good, Nathan said. And get whatever you'd like to drink. Chloe and I are having hot chocolate. Rochelle looked at his face. There was no condescension there, no performance of charity. Just kindness. Simple, genuine kindness. Thank you, she whispered. The turkey sandwich sounds perfect. As they waited for their food, something shifted. The desperate morning, the crushing weight of her problems, the fear that had been choking her for weeks, it all receded slightly. Not gone but manageable. And for the first time in a very long time, Rochelle felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. The turkey sandwich was the best thing Rochelle had eaten in months. Or maybe it just tasted that way because someone had offered it with kindness. She tried not to eat too quickly, tried to maintain some dignity, but she was so hungry. Nathan didn't comment on how fast she ate. Instead, he kept the conversation flowing naturally, asking about her favorite books, her thoughts on the city, anything except the obviously painful topic of her job loss. Chloe, bless her innocent heart, had no such filter. Why did you lose your job? The little girl asked, coloring a purple unicorn. Did you do something bad? Chloe, that's not appropriate, Nathan said gently. It's okay, Rochelle said, wiping her mouth with a napkin. She met Chloe's curious blue eyes. No, I didn't do anything bad. Sometimes grown-ups make decisions that aren't fair. My boss said customers didn't like my prosthetic leg. Chloe's crayon stopped mid-stroke. That's mean. Yes, it is. People can be mean about things they don't understand, Nathan said quietly. He looked at Rochelle with an intensity that made her breath catch. I'm sorry that happened to you. Thank you. They fell into silence for a moment. Rochelle returned to her laptop, refreshing her email hopefully even though she knew it was too soon to hear back from any applications. Her coffee had gone cold. Can I ask what kind of work you're looking for? Nathan asked. Beyond retail, I mean. What are your skills? Rochelle considered the question. What were her skills? She'd been a cashier, a stock clerk, a sales associate. Nothing impressive. Nothing that would interest a man who wore suits that probably cost more than her monthly rent. I'm organized, she said finally. I'm good with people usually. I can learn quickly. I'm reliable. Do you have experience with children? The question surprised her. I used to babysit a lot when I was younger, and I helped raise my little brother. Why? Nathan glanced at Chloe, who was deeply absorbed in her coloring. My daughter is the light of my life, but being a single parent while running a company is challenging. My current nanny is retiring next month. I've been dreading finding a replacement. Rochelle's heart began to beat faster. What exactly are you saying? I'm saying I need someone to help manage my household. Pick Chloe up from school, help with homework, prepare simple dinners. Some light housekeeping. The position comes with competitive pay and full benefits, including health insurance. Sounded too good to be true. Rochelle had learned that things that sounded too good to be true usually were. Why me? She asked bluntly. You just met me an hour ago. Nathan smiled. Call it instinct. My daughter likes you. That's rare. She's usually shy around strangers. I'm not shy, Chloe interjected. I just don't like most people. But I like Rochelle. She has kind eyes. Rochelle felt tears threatening again. This day had been such a storm of emotions that she felt wrung out. I can't just accept a job offer from someone I met in a cafe, she said weakly. You don't even know me. Then let's get to know each other, Nathan said. Tell me about yourself. So she did. Slowly at first, then more freely. She told them about growing up in a small apartment with her mother and brother, about working 3 jobs to help pay bills while her mother worked as a nurse, about the car accident at 19 that took her leg and nearly took her life, about the years of physical therapy, learning to walk again, fighting through pain and depression. She told them about her brother James, smart and funny, now in his 2nd year of college studying engineering, about her mother Patricia, strong and loving, who worked double shifts at the hospital even though her own health was failing, about the medical bills that never seemed to stop coming, the insurance that never seemed to cover enough. Nathan listened without interrupting, his expression serious and attentive. Chloe had stopped coloring and was listening too, her small face scrunched up in concentration. You've been through a lot, Nathan said when she finished. Everyone has their struggles. Not everyone handles them with such grace. Rochelle didn't know what to say to that. She looked down at her empty plate, at her cold coffee, at the remains of the kindness the stranger had shown her. The salary is $60,000 a year, Nathan said quietly. Plus room and board if you want to live in. There's a guest house on the property. Health insurance, dental, vision. 2 weeks paid vacation. And if you need time off for medical appointments for your prosthetic, that's not a problem. $60,000. Rochelle's mind reeled. She'd been making $28,000 at the retail job, and that had felt like barely scraping by. $60,000 was more money than she'd ever imagined making. That's too generous, she whispered. It's fair compensation for the job. And honestly, you'd be doing me a favor. I've interviewed 5 nannies in the past month. None of them connected with Chloe like you have in the past hour. I really like you, Chloe confirmed. You smell nice like flowers. Despite everything, Rochelle laughed. Thank you, honey. So what do you say? Nathan asked. Will you consider the position? We can do a trial period if that makes you more comfortable. 2 weeks, and if either of us feels it's not working, no hard feelings. This was crazy. This was absolutely insane. You didn't accept job offers from strangers in cafes. You didn't trust people you just met with your whole future. You didn't let yourself hope this easily. But Rochelle thought of the eviction notice. The $23 now down to $18 after the bus fare. The empty apartment waiting for her. The crushing weight of bills and fear and loneliness. And she thought of Chloe's bright eyes and Nathan's kind smile and the way they'd welcomed her to their table without hesitation. Sometimes you had to take a leap of faith. Yes, Rochelle said, her voice stronger than she felt. Yes, I'll take the job. Thank you. Thank you so much. Nathan's smile could have lit up the whole cafe. Excellent. Can you start Monday? Monday is perfect. Let me get your contact information, and I'll send you the address and all the details. As they exchanged phone numbers and email addresses, Rochelle felt something she hadn't felt in years. Like the universe had finally decided to stop punishing her. Like maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. Chloe reached across the table and took Rochelle's hand. I'm glad you asked to sit with us. I was hoping you would. You were? The little girl nodded seriously. When you walked in, I told Daddy that you looked sad and we should share our table. Daddy always says sharing is important. Rochelle looked at Nathan, who had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. Chloe is very observant, he said. Thank you for sharing, Rochelle said to both of them. You have no idea what this means to me. But she could see in Nathan's eyes that maybe he did. That maybe he understood more than she'd given him credit for. They talked for another hour, discussing logistics and schedules. Chloe drew a special unicorn picture for Rochelle and signed it with a flourish. When it was finally time to leave, Nathan insisted on calling a car service to take Rochelle home. You don't have to, she protested. I know, but I want to. Consider it an advance on your first paycheck. The car was nicer than any vehicle Rochelle had ever been in. She sat in the back seat, clutching Chloe's drawing and her laptop bag, and watched the city slide by through tinted windows. When she got back to her apartment, the eviction notice was still on the door. The bills were still scattered on the floor. But now they felt manageable, surmountable, because in 5 days she wouldn't need to worry about them anymore. Rochelle sat on her couch and let herself cry. But this time they were tears of relief, of gratitude, of hope. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Nathan. Just wanted to make sure you got home safely. Looking forward to Monday. And she saved his number and replied, Home safe. Thank you for everything. See you Monday. Then she opened her laptop and began researching everything she could about Nathan Hayes. It took approximately 3 minutes to learn that he was not just wealthy but billionaire wealthy. His tech company had revolutionized data security and made him one of the richest men under 40 in the country. Rochelle stared at the Forbes article, at the professional photo of Nathan in a black suit. She'd accepted a job from a billionaire. She was going to be working in a billionaire's home, caring for a billionaire's daughter. For a moment, panic set in. She wasn't qualified for this. She didn't belong in that world. What had she been thinking? But then she remembered Chloe's warm hand in hers. Nathan's kind eyes. The way they'd made her feel valued and seen, not despite her prosthetic leg but without even seeming to notice it mattered. Sometimes kindness came from unexpected places. Sometimes hope arrived when you'd given up on it entirely. Sometimes, a simple question at a cafe table could change your whole life. Before we continue with Rochelle's amazing transformation, I need to ask you something important. Have you ever felt invisible, like your struggles don't matter to anyone? Have you wondered if kindness still exists in this world? If this story is touching your heart, please hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me about a time someone showed you unexpected kindness. Your story matters and I read every single comment. Don't let this message of hope get lost. Subscribe now so you never miss these powerful stories. Monday morning arrived faster than Rochelle expected. She stood outside the massive iron gates of the Hayes estate, her palms sweating despite the cool morning air. The address Nathan had texted led to a property that could only be described as a mansion. Rolling lawns, perfectly manicured gardens, and a house that looked like something from a magazine spread. She pressed the intercom button with a trembling finger. Hello. A woman's voice crackled through the speaker. Hi, this is Rochelle Bennett. I'm here to see Mr. Hayes. Of course. Come right in. The gates swung open silently and Rochelle walked up the long driveway, her prosthetic leg feeling heavier with each step. What was she doing here? She didn't belong in a place like this. The front door opened before she could knock. A woman in her 50s with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun smiled warmly at her. You must be Rochelle. I'm Margaret, the house manager. Mr. Hayes is in his office, but he asked me to show you around first. Come in, dear. The interior was even more impressive than the exterior. High ceilings, elegant furniture, artwork that looked original and expensive. But it wasn't cold or unwelcoming. There were photos everywhere of Nathan and Chloe, warm throw blankets on the couches, and fresh flowers in vases. It's beautiful, Rochelle breathed. Mr. Hayes wanted a home, not a showpiece, Margaret said kindly. His late wife was very particular about making it feel lived in and loved. Would you like some coffee before the tour? That would be wonderful, thank you. They sat in a sunny kitchen that was bigger than Rochelle's entire apartment had been. Margaret poured coffee into beautiful blue ceramic mugs and set out fresh pastries. Mr. Hayes told me about your situation, Margaret said gently. I want you to know that you're very welcome here. We're a small staff, just myself, Thomas the groundskeeper, and now you. We're like a little family. Thank you. I'm still processing all of this, honestly. I understand it must feel overwhelming. But Nathan is a good man. The best I've ever worked for. And little Chloe is an angel. They chatted for a few more minutes before Margaret led her through the house. There was a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a media room, a gym, and more bedrooms than Rochelle could count. Everything was immaculate but comfortable. And here's the guest house, Margaret said, leading her outside through a garden path. Nathan thought you might prefer your own space. The guest house was a small cottage, painted a cheerful yellow with white trim. Inside it had a bedroom, a bathroom, a small kitchenette, and a cozy living area. This is mine, Rochelle asked in disbelief. If you want it. You're also welcome to take one of the bedrooms in the main house. Rochelle walked through the space, touching the soft blue curtains, testing the comfortable bed. It was more than she'd ever imagined. I'll take it, she said. This is perfect. Margaret smiled. Wonderful. Now let's go meet with Nathan and discuss your specific duties. Nathan's office was on the second floor, with windows overlooking the gardens. He stood when they entered, and Rochelle was struck again by how handsome he was. Today he wore a maroon button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up, looking less formal than at the cafe but no less put together. Rochelle. Welcome. I hope Margaret's been taking good care of you. She's been wonderful. This whole place is wonderful. I'm still not sure this is real. Nathan laughed, a warm sound that made her relax slightly. It's very real. Please sit. He outlined her responsibilities, picking Chloe up from school at 3, helping with homework, preparing dinner on weeknights, some light housekeeping in the main living areas. Weekends were generally free unless Nathan had business commitments. Her hours would be roughly 11 to 7 on weekdays. The most important thing is that Chloe feels cared for and safe, Nathan said. Everything else is secondary. Where is Chloe now? Rochelle asked. School. But she's very excited about you starting today. She talked about you all weekend. She's a sweet girl. She is. She lost her mother 3 years ago. Cancer. It's been just the two of us since then, and I worry sometimes that she needs more female influence in her life. Margaret is wonderful, but she's not here in the evenings when Chloe needs help with girl stuff. Rochelle heard the pain in his voice. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you. Caroline would have liked you, I think. She always said the best people were the ones who understood hardship. They discussed salary again. Nathan had set up direct deposit and health insurance was already being processed. He handed her a credit card. This is for household expenses. Groceries, anything Chloe needs, gas for the car. You're giving me a credit card? Rochelle asked faintly. How else would you buy what's needed? There's no limit for reasonable household expenses. Use your judgment. It was too much trust to place in a stranger. Rochelle said as much. You're not a stranger anymore, Nathan said simply. You're part of this household now. Something in his certainty made her believe him. She took the card carefully, promising herself she would never abuse this trust. Margaret showed her the car she'd be using to pick up Chloe, a safe and reliable sedan. Then it was time to collect Chloe from school. The moment Chloe saw Rochelle waiting at pickup, she squealed and ran over, launching herself into Rochelle's arms with complete trust. You're here. You're really here. I thought maybe I dreamed you. Rochelle hugged the little girl back, her heart swelling. I'm here, sweetie. Ready to go home? In the car, Chloe chattered about her day, showing Rochelle her schoolwork and a painting she'd made. When they arrived at the house, she grabbed Rochelle's hand and dragged her upstairs to see her room. This is my space, Chloe announced proudly. The room was painted a cheerful yellow with purple accents, filled with books and toys and drawings. It's beautiful. Did you decorate it yourself? Daddy helped. But I picked all the colors. Do you want to help me with my homework? They settled at Chloe's desk, working through math problems and spelling words. Chloe struggled with long division, growing frustrated. I'm stupid, she muttered, throwing down her pencil. Hey, Rochelle said gently. You're not stupid. Math can be hard. Let's try a different way of thinking about it. She explained the concept using drawings and real-world examples. Slowly, Chloe's face brightened with understanding. I get it now, she exclaimed. See? You're very smart. Sometimes we just need to look at things differently. After homework, they went to the kitchen. Rochelle had planned a simple dinner of pasta with vegetables and garlic bread. She'd been nervous about cooking in the enormous, well-equipped kitchen, but Chloe helped eagerly, chattering the whole time. Nathan came home at 6:30, earlier than Rochelle had expected. He stood in the kitchen doorway for a moment, just watching them cook together, and the expression on his face made Rochelle's breath catch. "Something smells amazing," he said. "Rochelle taught me how to make garlic bread," Chloe announced. "And I only burned one piece a little bit." "Only one piece? That's impressive." They ate dinner together at the kitchen table, not the formal dining room. Nathan asked about Chloe's day, and the little girl excitedly told him about everything they'd done. Rochelle felt like an intruder at first, but Nathan kept including her in the conversation, asking her opinion and making her feel valued. After dinner, Chloe wanted to show them both her latest drawing. It was a picture of 3 people, a tall man, a little girl, and a woman with different colored legs. "That's Daddy and that's me and that's Rochelle," Chloe explained. "We're a family now." The adults exchanged glances. Rochelle felt her throat tighten with emotion. Nathan looked equally moved. "It's a beautiful picture, baby," he said softly. When it was time for Chloe's bedtime routine, Rochelle helped her brush her teeth and change into pajamas. Nathan came up to read the bedtime story, and Chloe insisted Rochelle stay too. "You have to hear this story," Chloe said seriously. "It's about a brave princess who saves herself." So Rochelle sat in the rocking chair while Nathan sat on the edge of the bed, reading a story about a princess who didn't need a prince to rescue her. Chloe fell asleep before the end, her hand tucked under her cheek. Nathan carefully pulled the blanket up and kissed her forehead. "Sweet dreams, sweetheart." Outside in the hallway with Chloe's door closed, Nathan turned to Rochelle. "Thank you," he said. "I haven't seen her this happy in a long time." "She's easy to love," Rochelle replied honestly. "Still, you have a gift with her. I'm very glad you agreed to take this position." "I'm glad too. This feels like a dream." "It's not a dream. It's just life being kind for once." They stood there in the hallway, and Rochelle was suddenly very aware of how close they were standing. Nathan was looking at her with those warm brown eyes, and she felt something shift inside her chest. "I should get going," she said quickly. "Let you have your evening." "Right. Of course. I'll see you tomorrow?" "Yes. Same time." Rochelle walked back to the guest house, her mind whirling. Her first day had gone better than she could have hoped. Chloe was wonderful. Nathan was kind. This job might actually work. Inside her little cottage, she called her mother. "Mama? I have good news." "Rochelle? Baby, what is it?" She told her mother everything. About the cafe, about Nathan and Chloe, about the job in the cottage and how today had gone. $60,000? Her mother repeated faintly. "Rochelle, are you sure this is legitimate?" "I'm sure, Mama. They're good people. I checked him out online. He's a tech billionaire, completely legitimate businessman." "A billionaire? Oh, honey. Be careful. Rich people can be difficult." "He's not like that. Neither is his daughter. They're just good people who need help, and I need a job. It's perfect timing." "Well, if you're sure. I'm happy for you, baby. You deserve some good luck." They talked for another hour before Rochelle finally hung up. She looked around her cottage at the comfortable furniture and the fresh flowers Margaret had left on the table. She thought about Chloe's drawing, about being included as part of their family. For the first time in longer than she could remember, Rochelle fell asleep without worrying about the next day. Without fear pressing down on her chest. Without feeling like the world was too heavy to carry. She fell asleep feeling grateful. Feeling hopeful. Feeling like maybe she'd finally found where she belonged. The next few weeks passed in a blur of new routines and small joys. Rochelle settled into her role with surprising ease. Each morning, she woke in her cozy cottage feeling grateful. She'd eat breakfast on her small patio, watching the sun rise over the gardens, then head to the main house around 10:30. Margaret welcomed her like a friend each morning, always having coffee ready and some piece of news to share. Thomas the groundskeeper, a quiet man in his 60s, would wave from wherever he was working on the extensive property. They were, as Margaret had promised, like a little family. Picking up Chloe from school quickly became Rochelle's favorite part of the day. The little girl would burst out of the building, scanning the pickup line until she spotted Rochelle, then her whole face would light up. Every single day that greeting made Rochelle's heart swell. "Rochelle. Rochelle. Guess what happened today?" It was always something. A good grade on a test, a funny thing a classmate said, a new fact learned in science class. Chloe was endlessly curious and energetic, and Rochelle loved every minute of it. They'd established their own afternoon routine. Homework first, always at the kitchen table where the light was best. Rochelle discovered she had a knack for explaining difficult concepts in ways Chloe could understand. The little girl's grades were improving, and her teacher had even sent a note home commenting on her increased confidence. After homework, they'd have a snack. Sometimes they'd bake together, filling the house with the smell of cookies or brownies. Other times they'd sit in the garden, Chloe drawing while Rochelle read. Sometimes they'd play board games or work on puzzles. Then dinner preparation. Rochelle had been nervous about cooking at first, worried her simple meals wouldn't measure up to what a wealthy family expected. But Nathan had reassured her. "Caroline and I always preferred home cooking to fancy restaurants," he'd said. "Just make food with love. That's all we need." So she did. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Chicken stir-fry. Tacos. Spaghetti and meatballs. Simple, hearty meals that made the house smell like a home. Nathan had started coming home earlier and earlier. The first week he'd arrive around 7. By the third week he was walking through the door at 6, sometimes even 5:30. He always looked tired from his workday, but the moment he saw Chloe and Rochelle in the kitchen, his whole face would soften. "How are my favorite people?" he'd ask, and Chloe would run to hug him, talking a mile a minute about her day. He'd change out of his work clothes and join them for dinner. They'd sit at the kitchen table, the three of them, and talk about everything and nothing. Nathan would ask Rochelle about her day, genuinely interested in her opinions and thoughts. He treated her not like an employee but like a valued member of the household. Some evenings, after Chloe went to bed, Nathan and Rochelle would sit in the living room with tea or coffee. They'd talk about books, about their families, about dreams and disappointments. Nathan told her more about Caroline, about their love story, about the pain of losing her. "She was diagnosed when Chloe was 4, he said one evening, staring into his coffee cup. "We had 2 years. We tried every treatment, every possibility. But in the end, cancer won." "I'm so sorry," Rochelle said softly. She sounds like she was an amazing person. She was. She made me promise before she died that I wouldn't shut down. That I'd keep living, keep loving, keep letting people in. I've tried to honor that, but it's been hard. Grief is hard. There's no timeline for healing. No, there's not. He looked at her, then really looked at her. "But having you here has helped. More than you know. You've brought light back into this house." Rochelle felt her cheeks warm. "I'm just doing my job. You're doing so much more than that. You're giving my daughter stability and care. You're making this house feel like a home again. That's not just a job, Rochelle. That's a gift." These conversations became a regular occurrence. Rochelle found herself looking forward to them, to the quiet intimacy of sitting with Nathan after Chloe slept. She learned that he was funny and thoughtful, that he read constantly, that he worried about being a good father. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm enough," he admitted one night. "If Chloe needs more than I can give her." "You're a wonderful father," Rochelle assured him. "Chloe adores you. She knows she's loved. That's what matters most." "Thank you for saying that. It means a lot coming from you." "Why me?" "Because I trust your judgment. Because you genuinely care about Chloe. Because you're one of the most honest people I've ever met." The compliment stayed with Rochelle long after she returned to her cottage that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering when Nathan Hayes had become more than just her employer. When his smile had started making her pulse quicken. When his presence had become something she craved. This was dangerous territory. He was a billionaire. She was his employee. They lived in different worlds. But her heart didn't seem to care about any of that. On Friday of the third week, Chloe came down with a cold. Nothing serious, but she was miserable with a stuffy nose and a slight fever. Rochelle called Nathan at work to let him know. "I'm coming home," he said immediately. "You don't have to. I can handle it." "I know you can. But she's my daughter. I want to be there." He arrived home within an hour. Together they took care of Chloe, making her soup, setting up a comfortable nest on the couch, putting on her favorite movies. Chloe, even in her misery, seemed content to have both of them fussing over her. "You're both taking such good care of me," she said, her voice stuffy. "Like real parents." The adults exchanged glances. There was that word again. Parents. Family. Lines that were blurring more every day. That evening, after Chloe finally fell asleep on the couch, Nathan and Rochelle sat on either side of her, making sure she was comfortable and breathing easy. "Thank you for calling me," Nathan said softly. "I would have hated to miss this. She needed you. You're her dad. And she needed you too. You've become so important to her, Rochelle. To both of us." Rochelle's heart pounded. "You're important to me too." The moment stretched between them, heavy with things unsaid. Nathan reached across Chloe's sleeping form and took Rochelle's hand. The touch was electric, sending warmth through her entire body. "I should tell you something," he said quietly. "I didn't just offer you this job because Chloe liked you, though that was part of it. I offered it because I liked you. Because in that cafe talking to you I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. I felt alive again." Rochelle couldn't breathe. "Nathan, I know this is complicated. You work for me. But these past few weeks have been the happiest I've been since Caroline died. And I think you might feel something too." She did. Of course she did. But admitting it felt terrifying. "This is a bad idea," she whispered. "I need this job. I can't lose this job." "You won't. Whatever happens between us personally, your position here is secure. I promise you that. But Rochelle, I can't keep pretending I don't have feelings for you." "I have feelings for you too," she admitted, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "But I'm scared. You're you and I'm me, and we're from such different worlds. The only world that matters is this one. This house with you and me and Chloe. That's our world. Everything else is just noise." He was still holding her hand across Chloe's sleeping form. Rochelle looked down at their joined hands, at the little girl between them, at the life she'd somehow stumbled into. "I don't want to mess this up," she said. "Neither do I. So we'll take it slow. We'll be careful. But I need you to know how I feel. I need you to know that you're not just my employee. You're so much more than that." They sat there in the soft lamplight, holding hands, watching Chloe sleep. And Rochelle felt something she'd been afraid to feel. Not just hope. Not just gratitude. But something deeper. Something that felt like it might be love. The next morning, Chloe woke up feeling much better. She bounced into the kitchen where Rochelle was making breakfast, her energy fully restored. "I had the best dream," Chloe announced. "I dreamed you and Daddy got married and we were all a real family." Rochelle nearly dropped the spatula. "Oh, that's a nice dream, honey." "It wasn't just a dream though," Chloe said seriously. "It's going to happen. I can tell." "How can you tell?" "Because Daddy looks at you the way he used to look at Mommy. And you look at him the same way. Plus, you're wearing his color today." Rochelle looked down at her blue shirt. "His color? Blue is Daddy's favorite. You wear it a lot now. I notice things." Out of the mouths of babes, Rochelle thought. She had been unconsciously choosing blue more often. She ruffled Chloe's hair affectionately. "You're very observant, Miss Chloe." "I know. So when are you going to start dating? Can I help plan it?" "Honey, it's not that simple." "Why not? You like each other. That's what dating is for." From the doorway, Nathan's voice made them both turn. "Chloe has a point, you know." He was standing there in jeans and a green shirt, looking more casual than Rochelle had ever seen him. And the way he was smiling at her made her knees weak. "Good morning," she managed. "Morning. How's our patient?" "All better," Chloe announced. "And I was just telling Rochelle that you two should go on a date. She says it's complicated, but I think it's simple." Nathan laughed and came to sit at the table. "Well, Rochelle does have a point about it being complicated. But I also think Chloe is right that it's simple. So here's what I propose. Rochelle, would you have dinner with me tonight? Somewhere nice. Just the two of us. Margaret can stay with Chloe." Rochelle's heart hammered in her chest. This was real. This was happening. She could say no. She should probably say no. But when she looked at Nathan's hopeful face, at Chloe's excited expression, she couldn't bring herself to refuse. Sometimes you had to take a leap of faith. "Yes," she said. "I'd love to have dinner with you." Chloe cheered. Nathan's smile was like sunrise. And Rochelle felt her carefully constructed walls crumbling. She'd spent so long protecting herself, keeping people at arm's length, expecting disappointment. But maybe it was time to stop protecting and start living. Maybe it was time to let herself be loved. The date night felt like something out of a dream. Nathan took her to an elegant restaurant with a view of the city lights. He told her to wear something nice, and she'd panicked until Margaret had appeared at the cottage with several dress options. "Mr. Hayes said you might need these," Margaret had said with a knowing smile. "And before you protest, these were Caroline's. She would want you to have them. She was always giving things to people who needed them." Rochelle chose a simple but elegant red dress that fit perfectly. When she walked into the main house, Nathan's expression made her feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. "You look stunning," he breathed. "Thank you. You look very handsome yourself." He wore a dark blue suit, no tie, the top button of his shirt undone. Professional but relaxed. The car that drove them to the restaurant was driven by Thomas, who winked at Rochelle in the rearview mirror. Dinner was perfect. They talked about everything, their conversation flowing as naturally as it did in the kitchen after Chloe's bedtime. But there was something different now, something charged in the air between them. This wasn't employer and employee. This was a man and a woman, exploring feelings that had been growing for weeks. "I have a confession," Nathan said over dessert. "I've been coming home early on purpose. I've been finding excuses to be around you." "I noticed," Rochelle admitted. "I've been finding excuses too. To stay later. To linger at breakfast. We're not very subtle, are we?" "Not according to Chloe." They laughed together, and the joy of it filled Rochelle with warmth. When had she last felt this light? This happy? Not in years. Maybe not ever. "Can I ask you something?" Nathan said, his expression growing serious. "About your leg. You don't have to answer if it's too personal. You can ask. Does it still hurt? I've noticed you adjusting it sometimes. You try to hide it, but I see." Rochelle was touched that he'd noticed, that he'd cared enough to pay attention. "Sometimes. The connection point can get sore, especially after a long day. I need to see my prosthetist for an adjustment, but it's expensive even with insurance." "How expensive?" "About $2,000. It's on my list of things to save for." Nathan pulled out his phone. "What are you doing?" Rochelle asked. "Texting my assistant to set up an appointment with the best prosthetist in the city. And before you argue, this is a work-related expense. You can't do your job properly if you're in pain. Consider it ergonomics." "Nathan, that's too much." "It's not enough. Rochelle, you take care of what's most precious to me. You care for my daughter, you manage my household, you've brought joy back into my life. The least I can do is make sure you're comfortable and healthy." Tears pricked at Rochelle's eyes. "You're too generous." "I'm really not. You deserve so much more than I can give you. You've already given me everything. A job, a home, hope. You've given me my life back." He reached across the table and took her hand. "You've given me mine too. That's a fair trade." The drive home was quiet, both of them lost in thought. When they arrived at the house, Nathan walked her to the guest cottage. "Thank you for tonight," Rochelle said at her door. "It was perfect. Thank you for taking a chance on me. On us." They stood close, and Rochelle thought he might kiss her. Part of her wanted him to. But part of her was grateful when he just squeezed her hand instead. "Good night, Rochelle." "Good night, Nathan." She watched him walk back to the main house before going inside. The cottage felt smaller somehow, emptier. She wanted to be with him, to keep talking, to explore these new feelings. But she also knew this was smart. Taking it slow. Being careful. Still, as she got ready for bed, she couldn't stop smiling. The next few weeks were a careful dance. Nathan and Rochelle were dating, but they kept it low-key around Chloe. Not because they were hiding it, but because they wanted to be sure before involving her more deeply. Though if Chloe's knowing looks were any indication, they weren't fooling her at all. They went on more dates. An art museum where Nathan showed her his favorite paintings. A botanical garden where they walked for hours, talking and holding hands. A comedy show that had them both laughing until their sides hurt. A quiet cafe where they'd sit for hours over coffee, lost in conversation. But the best moments were still the everyday ones. Cooking dinner together while Chloe did her homework. Reading stories at bedtime, sitting close on Chloe's bed. The quiet evenings after Chloe slept, curled up on the couch watching movies or just talking. Rochelle's life had transformed so completely that sometimes she had to pinch herself to believe it was real. She had a beautiful place to live, work she loved, people who cared about her. Her mother's medical bills were being paid through the excellent health insurance Nathan provided. Her brother James had called to say he'd received a mysterious scholarship that covered his remaining tuition. "Do you know anything about this scholarship?" Rochelle had asked Nathan suspiciously. "Maybe. Does it matter?" "Nathan, you can't just pay for my family's expenses." "Why not? I have the resources. Your family needs help. It's simple math." "It's too generous. No such thing when it comes to people you care about." One evening, about 6 weeks after that first dinner date, Nathan asked Rochelle to join him in his office after Chloe went to bed. She found him standing by the window, looking out at the gardens lit by soft landscape lights. "Is everything okay?" she asked, worried by his serious expression. "Everything is very okay. I wanted to talk to you about something. Come here." She joined him at the window. He turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. "These past 2 months have been the happiest of my life since Caroline died," he began. "You've become essential to me, Rochelle. Not just as someone who helps with Chloe, but as a partner. As someone I want to share my life with." Rochelle's heart raced. "Nathan, let me finish. I know we come from different worlds. I know there's a power imbalance because you work for me. I know all the reasons this might be complicated. But I also know that what I feel for you is real. And I think what you feel for me is real too. It is, she whispered. So real it scares me sometimes. Me too. But I think that's how you know it matters. So I wanted to ask you something. Would you consider moving into the main house? Not as an employee but as my partner. As someone I'm building a life with. What about Chloe? Chloe adores you. She's been asking me when you're going to be her for real mom for weeks now. Tears streamed down Rochelle's face. I love her so much. And I love you. But Nathan, what if I mess this up? What if I'm not good enough for your world? He cupped her face in his hands, wiping away her tears with his thumbs. You are more than good enough. You're everything we need. My world isn't mansions and money. My world is right here in this house with the people I love. And I love you, Rochelle. I love your kindness and your strength. I love how you care for my daughter. I love how you make me laugh. I love everything about you. I love you too, she said, the words feeling like freedom. And then he kissed her. Soft at first, then deeper, years of loneliness and pain melting away in the warmth of new love. When they finally pulled apart, both were crying and smiling. Is that a yes? He asked. Will you move into the house? Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. They held each other by the window, and Rochelle felt something she'd never expected to feel. She felt home. Not just in this house but in this man's arms. In this life they were building together. A small sound made them turn. Chloe stood in the doorway in her pajamas, a huge smile on her face. I knew it, she exclaimed. I knew you would finally figure it out. Chloe, what are you doing up? Nathan asked, though he was smiling. I heard talking and I wanted to see. So does this mean Rochelle is staying forever? If she'll have us, yes. Chloe ran to them and they both knelt down to hug her. The three of them held each other and Rochelle felt her heart might burst with joy. Is this real? She whispered. It's real, Nathan assured her. This is our family. This is our life. This is forever. And in that moment, surrounded by the people she loved, Rochelle finally believed it. She'd walked into a cafe weeks ago with $23 and no hope. Now she had everything. Not because of the money or the house but because of love. Because of kindness. Because she'd been brave enough to ask a simple question. Can I sit here? That question had changed her life. That question had brought her home. The transition to living in the main house was easier than Rochelle expected. Nathan insisted she take the master guest suite, which was bigger than most apartments and had its own sitting area. She brought her few possessions from the cottage, though Nathan kept reminding her that she could redecorate however she wanted. This is your home now, he'd say. Make it yours. Slowly she did. Small touches at first. Fresh flowers in her favorite colors. Photos of her mother and brother on the dresser. A cozy reading chair by the window. It started to feel like hers. Like home. Chloe was thrilled with the arrangement. She'd knock on Rochelle's door each morning, bouncing with energy ready to start the day. On weekends she'd climb into Rochelle's bed early, wanting to cuddle and talk about everything and nothing. Are you my mom now? Chloe asked one morning, tracing patterns on Rochelle's hand. I'm not trying to replace your mom, Rochelle said carefully. Your mom will always be your mom. But I love you very much and I'll always be here for you. Can I call you mom if I want to? Rochelle's throat tightened. If that feels right to you then yes. I'd be honored. Okay. I'll think about it. I loved my first mom so much. But I love you too. Is it okay to love two moms? It's more than okay. Love doesn't run out, sweetie. The more people you love, the bigger your heart grows. Chloe seemed satisfied with this answer. She snuggled closer, and they lay there in comfortable silence, watching the morning light stream through the windows. Life settled into a beautiful rhythm. Rochelle no longer felt like an employee. She felt like a partner. She and Nathan made decisions together about Chloe's schooling, about household matters, about their future. Margaret treated her with warm respect, and Thomas always had a smile and a wave. One evening, about 3 months into their relationship, Rochelle's mother called with worry in her voice. Baby, I need to tell you something. What's wrong, Mama? The hospital is reducing my hours. My health hasn't been great and they're concerned about me managing full shifts. But that means less income and I still have so many bills. I don't know how I'm going to manage. Rochelle's heart sank. Just when things were finally good. How much do you need, Mama? Oh no, I'm not asking you for money. I know you're doing better, but I don't want to be a burden. I'll figure something out. After they hung up, Rochelle sat with the weight of worry pressing down on her. She'd sent her mother money from her paychecks, but it wasn't enough to cover everything. Her mother was too proud to ask for more. And her medical issues were ongoing, expensive. Nathan found her sitting in the library staring at nothing. Hey, what's wrong? He sat beside her, taking her hand. She told him about her mother, about the reduced hours and the bills and the worry. I don't know what to do. I want to help her, but I don't have enough saved yet. How much does she need? Nathan, no. I can't ask you for more. You've already done so much. You're not asking. I'm offering. How much? Her medical bills are around $50,000. Plus her regular expenses. I just don't want her to suffer. She's worked so hard her whole life. She deserves better. Nathan pulled out his phone. What are you doing? Rochelle asked, though she suspected she knew. Paying off her medical debt. And setting up a monthly stipend so she doesn't have to work herself to death. She's family now, Rochelle. We take care of family. That's too much. I can't let you do that. He looked at her seriously. Here's the thing about money. Past a certain point, it's just numbers. It doesn't mean anything unless you use it to help people you care about. Your mother raised an incredible woman. She took care of you your whole life. Now it's time someone took care of her. Let me do this. Please. Rochelle wanted to argue. Part of her was screaming that this was too much to accept, that she'd be forever indebted, that it wasn't right. But a bigger part of her thought about her mother working double shifts at 62 years old, her health failing, too proud to ask for help. Thought about how Nathan's money could give her mother the rest and peace she deserved. Okay, Rochelle whispered. But only if you let me pay you back somehow. You already do. Every day. Just by being you. He made the calls right then. Within an hour, her mother's medical debt was gone. A trust was set up to provide her with a comfortable monthly income. When Nathan called Patricia to tell her, Rochelle listened to her mother cry with relief and gratitude. You raised an amazing daughter, Nathan told Patricia. This is the least I can do. After he hung up, Rochelle threw her arms around him and sobbed. Not from sadness but from overwhelming gratitude and love. He held her, stroking her hair, murmuring comfort. Thank you, she managed between sobs. Thank you so much. You don't know what this means. I think I do. I lost my parents young. I know what it's like to worry about the people you love. If I can take that worry away, that's what I want to do. A few days later, Rochelle got another call. This time from her brother James. Sis, something weird happened. Someone paid off my student loans. All of them. And set up a scholarship for grad school if I want to go. Do you know anything about this? Rochelle looked at Nathan, who was pretending to read the newspaper but couldn't hide his smile. Let me guess, she said to Nathan. You? Maybe. Is your brother upset? James, are you upset? Rochelle asked into the phone. Upset? I'm over the moon. I just want to know who to thank. Thank Nathan Hayes. My boyfriend. The billionaire you work for? Sis, I need to meet this guy. Anyone who pays off student loans is a hero. When she hung up, Rochelle sat next to Nathan on the couch. You can't keep doing this. Why not? Because it's too much. Because I feel like I can never repay you. You're not supposed to repay me. That's not how love works. I give because I want to, because I can, because it makes me happy to see you happy. No debt. No obligation. Just love. She kissed him then, long and deep, trying to pour all her gratitude and love into it. When they pulled apart, he was smiling. Besides, he said, your family is going to be my family. When we get married, they'll be my in-laws. It's in my best interest to make sure they like me. Rochelle's heart skipped. When we get married? Did I say when? I meant if. Unless you already know the answer? I might know the answer, she admitted, smiling. Good. Because I might already have a ring picked out. Nathan Hayes, are you planning to propose to me? Maybe. Would that be okay? More than okay. But let's take our time. Let's be sure. I'm already sure. But I'll wait as long as you need. They sat together in comfortable silence, and Rochelle marveled at how her life had changed. A few months ago, she'd been sitting on her apartment floor, counting $23, wondering how she'd survive. Now she was planning a future with a man she loved, in a home she adored, with a daughter who called her family. The next day, Patricia came to visit. Rochelle hadn't seen her mother in person since starting the job, and when Patricia walked through the door, Rochelle burst into tears. Mama? They hugged for a long time, both crying. Patricia looked healthier already, the deep lines of stress easing from her face. Look at you, Patricia said, holding Rochelle at arm's length. You look so happy, baby. I'm happy, Mama. So happy. Patricia met Nathan and Chloe, and Rochelle watched anxiously, hoping they'd all get along. She needn't have worried. Chloe immediately claimed Patricia as Grandma Patricia and dragged her off to see her room. Nathan charmed Patricia with his genuine warmth and obvious love for Rochelle. "You take good care of my daughter," Patricia told Nathan seriously. "She takes care of me," Nathan replied. "We take care of each other." Patricia stayed for the weekend. She and Rochelle cooked together in the kitchen, talked late into the night, laughed like they used to before life had gotten so hard. On Sunday morning, as Patricia was preparing to leave, she pulled Rochelle aside. "Baby, I need to say something." "What is it, Mama?" "I was worried. When you told me about this job, about Nathan, I was worried he was taking advantage of you. That you'd get hurt. But I see now that I was wrong. He loves you. Really loves you. And you love him." "I do, Mama. So much." "Then I'm happy for you. You deserve this happiness. You've been through so much. It's time for good things to come your way. What about you? Are you really okay with everything Nathan did?" Patricia took Rochelle's face in her hands. "Listen to me. Pride is good, but false pride is foolish. That man gave me my life back. He gave your brother his future back. He gave you a home and a family. That's not charity. That's love. When someone offers you help with love, you accept it with grace. That's what I'm doing. And that's what you should do too. Real quick, if you're loving Rochelle's journey from struggling to thriving, can I ask you something? Have you ever been too proud to accept help when you desperately needed it? Have you seen how one person's generosity can change everything? This story is about more than romance. It's about the power of kindness and the courage to accept love when it's offered. If this message resonates with you, please subscribe to never miss these emotional stories. And drop a comment telling me, when was a time you wish you'd said yes instead of no? Your stories matter. Let's keep this conversation going. Subscribe now. Rochelle hugged her mother tight, tears streaming down her face. "I love you, Mama." "I love you too, baby. Now go live your beautiful life. You've earned it." After Patricia left, Rochelle felt something shift inside her. Her mother was right. She'd been carrying guilt about accepting Nathan's help, feeling like she owed him something. But love wasn't a transaction. Love was freely given and freely received. That evening she found Nathan in his office. "Thank you," she said simply. "For everything. For my family. For me. For all of it." He stood and pulled her into his arms. "You never have to thank me." "I know. But I want to. And I want you to know that I'm done feeling guilty. I'm done questioning whether I deserve this. I'm just going to be grateful and happy." "Good. Because you deserve every bit of happiness this world can give you. So do you." They held each other, and Rochelle felt the last of her walls come down. She was all in. Heart and soul. Whatever came next, they would face it together. As a family. Spring arrived with a riot of color. The gardens exploded with blooms. Chloe finished second grade with excellent grades, and they celebrated with a family trip to an amusement park. It was Rochelle's first time at such a place, and Chloe was delighted to show her all her favorite rides. "You have to go on the roller coaster," Chloe insisted, bouncing with excitement. "I don't know, honey. Those things are pretty scary." "Daddy will hold your hand." "Right, Daddy?" Nathan grinned. "Right. I'll protect you from the scary roller coaster." Rochelle wore a bright red shirt and comfortable jeans. Her prosthetic leg had been adjusted and she felt better than she had in years. As they stood in line for the ride, she watched Nathan and Chloe together, their easy affection, their laughter. Her heart felt so full she thought it might overflow. On the ride, she screamed and laughed and held Nathan's hand tight. When they got off, her hair was a mess and her face hurt from smiling. "That was amazing," she exclaimed. "See? I told you." Chloe grabbed her hand. Now the spinning teacups. They spent the whole day at the park. They ate too much cotton candy and funnel cake. They won stuffed animals at the game booths. They watched a parade and got their faces painted. It was perfect. As the sun began to set, they sat on a bench eating ice cream. Chloe was between them, swinging her legs happily. "This is the best day ever," Chloe announced. "It really is," Rochelle agreed. "Can we do this every year? Like a family tradition?" Nathan and Rochelle exchanged glances over Chloe's head. There was that word again. Family. But it didn't feel presumptuous anymore. It felt right. "Absolutely," Nathan said. "Every year." On the drive home, Chloe fell asleep in the back seat. Nathan reached over and took Rochelle's hand. "I meant what I said. Every year. Every birthday, every holiday, every special moment. I want them all with you." "Me too," Rochelle said softly. "I love you, Rochelle. I need you to know how much. You're not just important to me. You're essential. You're everything." I love you too. More than I knew I could love someone. They drove through the twilight, holding hands, Chloe snoring softly in the back, and Rochelle thought this must be what contentment felt like. Not just happiness but deep, bone-deep contentment. Like finding the place you were always meant to be. The weeks that followed were filled with small moments of joy. Rochelle teaching Chloe to braid hair. Nathan bringing home flowers for no reason except that they reminded him of Rochelle. Family movie nights where they'd all pile onto the couch with popcorn. Lazy Sunday mornings with breakfast in the garden. Nathan's business associates began meeting Rochelle, and she was nervous at first. These were important people, rich people, people from a world she didn't understand. But Nathan always introduced her proudly as his partner, his hand warm on her back, making sure she felt valued and included. One evening they attended a charity gala. Rochelle wore a stunning green dress that Nathan had insisted on buying her. She felt beautiful but nervous. I don't know if I can do this, she whispered in the car. What if I say the wrong thing? What if they judge me? Then they're not worth our time. You're amazing, Rochelle. Just be yourself. That's all you need to be. At the gala, she met doctors and lawyers, business owners and politicians. She met Nathan's mother, an elegant woman named Elizabeth who studied Rochelle with sharp eyes. So you're the woman who's stolen my son's heart, Elizabeth said. I hope I haven't stolen it. I hope he gave it freely. Elizabeth smiled and it transformed her face. He did. And I can see why. You make him happy. You make my granddaughter happy. That's all that matters to me. Welcome to the family, dear. The acceptance meant more than Rochelle expected. She hadn't realized how much she'd been worrying about Nathan's family accepting her until that worry was lifted. Later, dancing with Nathan to soft music, she felt like Cinderella at the ball. Except this wasn't a fairy tale that would end at midnight. This was real life. Her real life. What are you thinking about? Nathan asked, holding her close. How lucky I am. How none of this feels real sometimes. It's real. We're real. Everything else is just noise. A photographer took their picture as they danced, and the next day it appeared in the society section of the newspaper. Rochelle stared at the image, at herself in Nathan's arms, both of them smiling like they held the world's best secret. We look happy, she said. We are happy, Nathan replied. And I want the whole world to know it. That weekend, James came to visit. He'd just finished his sophomore year of college, and Rochelle hadn't seen him in person since Christmas. He'd grown taller, filled out, looked more like a man than a boy. Big sis. He hugged her tight, lifting her off her feet. Look at you living in a mansion. Put me down, you goof. I want you to meet Nathan and Chloe. James and Nathan hit it off immediately, bonding over sports and technology. Chloe declared James her new favorite person because he pushed her on the swing higher than anyone else would. That evening, after Chloe went to bed, the three adults sat in the living room. James looked at Rochelle with wonder. Sis, you're glowing. I've never seen you this happy. I'm happy. Really, truly happy. Good. You deserve it. After everything you've been through, all the ways you sacrificed for me and Mama, you deserve every bit of this. I didn't sacrifice. I was just being your sister. You gave up college to help pay my tuition. You worked yourself to exhaustion to keep us afloat after Daddy died. You've always put us first. So seeing you like this, seeing you loved and cared for, it means everything to me. Nathan squeezed Rochelle's hand. She's easy to love. Yes, she is. Just treat her right, man. She's the best person I know. I know. And I plan to spend the rest of my life proving I deserve her. James grinned. Does that mean wedding bells are in the future? James? Rochelle said, embarrassed. But Nathan just smiled. Eventually. When she's ready. I'm a patient man. After James left the next day, promising to visit again soon, Rochelle and Nathan sat in the garden. Chloe was at a friend's house for a playdate, so they had rare quiet time alone. Your brother is great, Nathan said. He likes you too. That means a lot to me. I like that he looks out for you. Even now, even when you're clearly doing well, he still worries about you. That's what family does. Yes, it is. Nathan turned to face her fully. Rochelle, can I ask you something serious? Her heart picked up speed. Of course. Are you happy here? Really happy? Not just grateful or comfortable, but genuinely happy. I'm more than happy. I'm joyful. Why do you ask? Because I want to make sure. I want to make sure this is what you want, not just what you've settled for because it's better than what you had before. Rochelle took his face in her hands. Listen to me. This isn't settling. This isn't me accepting something because I have no other choice. This is me choosing you. Choosing this life. Choosing this family. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Because I love you. Because I can't imagine my life without you anymore. You're sure? I'm sure. Are you? Are you sure about me? Because I know I'm not what you probably imagined. I'm not from your world. I don't have the right background or education or connections. You're exactly what I imagined. Actually, you're better. Because you're real. You're kind. You're strong. You love my daughter like she's your own. You've made this house a home again. You're everything I need. Everything we need. They kissed then, soft and sweet, the garden blooming around them, the future spreading out before them like an open road. I think I'm ready, Rochelle whispered against his lips. Ready for what? For whatever comes next. For forever. Nathan pulled back to look at her, his eyes shining. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying that if you wanted to ask me something, now would be a good time. He laughed, full and joyful. I don't have the ring with me. It's in the safe in my office. I don't need a ring right now. I just need to know. Is this real? Are we really doing this? We're really doing this. I love you, Rochelle Bennett. I want to marry you. I want to build a life with you. I want to grow old with you. Will you marry me? Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. They held each other in the garden, and Rochelle felt like she was flying. Like the weight she'd carried her whole life had finally lifted. She was free. She was loved. She was home. When Chloe came home later, they told her together. Rochelle said yes. Nathan announced. Chloe squealed and jumped up and down. I knew it. I knew it. I'm going to have the best mom ever. You already did, Rochelle said, thinking of Caroline. Now you'll have two. One watching over you from heaven, and one here with you every day. I like that, Chloe said seriously. Two moms loving me. I'm the luckiest. No, Nathan said, pulling them both close. I'm the luckiest. Actually, I think I'm the luckiest, Rochelle said, tears streaming down her face. Because I get both of you. They stood there in a group hug, the three of them, a family made not by blood but by choice and love. And Rochelle knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The next few days passed in a blur of happiness. Nathan officially gave Rochelle the ring, a stunning sapphire surrounded by diamonds. It was beautiful, but what mattered more was what it represented. Commitment. Forever. Family. They decided to wait a few months before getting married, wanting to take their time planning. But the engagement was official, and Nathan wasted no time telling everyone who would listen. His business associates offered congratulations. Margaret and Thomas were delighted. Patricia and James were overjoyed. But not everyone was happy about the news. Nathan's business partner, Richard, came to the house one evening while Chloe was at a sleepover. Rochelle answered the door to find a stern-looking man in his 50s. You must be Rochelle. I'm Richard Thornton. I need to speak with Nathan. Of course. Come in. He's in his office. She led him there and left them alone, but their voices carried into the hallway where she stood frozen. Nathan, are you sure about this? Richard was saying. You barely know this woman. She was your employee, for heaven's sake. She's the woman I love, Nathan replied calmly. And I know her better than I've known anyone except Caroline. But what's her background? What's her education? She's not from our world. How do you know she's not just after your money? Rochelle's stomach twisted. She'd feared this. She'd known people would think exactly that. Rochelle doesn't care about money, Nathan said, his voice hard now. She cared for my daughter and managed my household long before we started dating. She's never asked me for anything. In fact, she fights me every time I try to help her family. That could be an act. It's not. And I need you to respect my choice, Richard. I'm marrying her. That's final. What about Chloe? Have you thought about how this will affect her if things don't work out? Things will work out. Because we love each other. Because we're building something real. I hope you're right. For Chloe's sake. After Richard left, Nathan found Rochelle in the kitchen, staring at nothing. You heard? He said flatly. I heard. He thinks I'm a gold digger. He's wrong. And even if he wasn't, I don't care what he thinks. But other people will think it too. Your friends, your family, your business contacts. They'll all wonder what a billionaire is doing with someone like me. Nathan turned her to face him. Listen to me. I don't care what anyone thinks. The only opinions that matter are ours and Chloe's and our families. Everyone else can think whatever they want. But it bothers you. I can see it does. What bothers me is someone questioning your character. Because I know your character. I know you're good and kind and honest. But people's ignorance doesn't change what we have. Rochelle wanted to believe him. But doubt had crept in, cold and insidious. The next day, Nathan's mother Elizabeth called and asked to meet Rochelle for lunch. Alone. Rochelle agreed, though anxiety twisted her stomach. They met at an upscale restaurant. Elizabeth was perfectly polite as they ordered, but once the food arrived, she got to the point. I like you, Rochelle. I genuinely do. You're good for Nathan and wonderful with Chloe. But I need to be honest with you about something. Okay, Rochelle said carefully. Nathan's world is complicated. There will be people who judge you. People who question your motives. People who think you're not good enough. It won't be easy being married to someone so wealthy and prominent. I know that. Do you? Because it's one thing to date him, to live in his house, to be sheltered from the worst of it. It's another thing to stand beside him publicly, to face scrutiny and gossip and judgment. Are you prepared for that? Rochelle set down her fork. Mrs. Hayes, I'm not going to pretend this doesn't scare me. It does. I know I'm not from your world. I know people will talk. But I love your son. I love your granddaughter. I'm not going anywhere no matter what people say. Elizabeth studied her for a long moment. Then she smiled. Good. That's what I wanted to hear. Because the truth is, I don't care where you came from or what your education is. I care that you make my son happy. I care that you love my granddaughter. Everything else is just noise. Then why the warning? Because I wanted to make sure you were strong enough to handle it. Nathan needs someone strong. Caroline was strong. She handled the scrutiny and the judgment with grace. I can see you have that same strength. Relief flooded through Rochelle. Thank you. That means everything to me. Just promise me one thing. Anything. Don't let the doubters win. Don't let them make you question your worth. You belong in Nathan's life not because he rescued you, but because you're exactly who he needs. Never forget that. Rochelle felt tears prick her eyes. I won't forget. They finished lunch on better terms, and when Elizabeth hugged her goodbye, it felt genuine. But the doubts didn't completely disappear. Over the next few weeks, Rochelle noticed the looks. At charity events, at dinners with Nathan's associates, at society gatherings. The subtle judgment, the whispered conversations that stopped when she approached. One evening, she overheard two women in the bathroom at a fundraiser. That's her? The one Nathan Hayes is marrying? Apparently. She used to be his nanny or something. How convenient. She certainly landed on her feet. I give it 2 years before he realizes his mistake. Rochelle stood in the stall, frozen, their words cutting deep. When they left, she looked at herself in the mirror. She wore a beautiful maroon dress. Her makeup was perfect. She looked like she belonged. But inside she felt like a fraud. She found Nathan talking with a group of businessmen. Can we go home? She asked quietly. He took one look at her face and made their excuses immediately. In the car, he held her hand. What happened? She told him about the women in the bathroom. His jaw tightened. They're jealous and small-minded. Ignore them. But they're right in a way. I did land on my feet. You did rescue me. Stop. You rescued yourself. You walked into that cafe with nothing but courage and determination. You asked a stranger if you could sit at his table. That took strength. What happened after was two people falling in love. Not a rescue. Not a transaction. Love. I just feel like I'll never really belong in your world. Then good thing you're creating a new world. Our world. Where the only thing that matters is that we love each other and we're good to each other and we raise Chloe with kindness and hope. She leaned against him. I love you. I love you too. And I need you to believe in us the way I believe in us. Can you do that? I'll try. That's all I ask. When they got home, they found Chloe still awake, sitting on the stairs. I couldn't sleep, she said. I was worried about you guys. Why were you worried, honey? Rochelle asked. I heard you on the phone with Grandma. You sounded sad. Are you sad about marrying Daddy? Rochelle knelt down in front of Chloe. No, sweetie. I'm not sad about marrying your daddy. I'm just a little scared sometimes. Scared of what? Scared that I'm not good enough. That people won't accept me. Chloe put her small hands on Rochelle's cheeks. But you're perfect. You're the best. And anyone who doesn't see that is silly. Right, Daddy? Right, baby girl. So you shouldn't be scared. Because you have me and Daddy. And we think you're the best person ever. So who cares what other people think? Out of the mouths of babes. Rochelle pulled Chloe into a hug. You're absolutely right. Thank you for reminding me. That night, lying in bed, Rochelle made a decision. She wasn't going to let fear win. She wasn't going to let other people's opinions dictate her happiness. She had found love. She had found family. She had found home. And she wasn't going to give that up for anything. The next day she woke up with new determination. When she went downstairs she found Nathan making breakfast, a rare occurrence. "What's this?" she asked. "I'm cooking for you for once. Figured it was time I returned the favor." She wrapped her arms around him from behind. "I love you. And I'm done being scared. I'm done letting doubt win. I choose us. I choose this life. I choose happiness." He turned and kissed her. "That's my girl. Actually, I've been thinking. What if we move up the wedding? What if we get married soon instead of waiting?" "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. I don't want to wait. I don't want to give fear any more time to creep in. I want to be your wife. I want to be Chloe's mom. I want to start our forever now." Nathan's smile was brilliant. "Then let's do it. Let's get married." Chloe came running into the kitchen. "Did I hear wedding talk? Are we having a wedding soon?" "We are," Rochelle said laughing. "How do you feel about that?" "I feel like this is the best day ever. Can I help plan it? Can I be a flower girl? Can I pick my dress?" "You can do all of those things," Nathan assured her. They spent the morning making plans, the three of them, excitement building. And Rochelle felt the last of her fear melt away. This was her family. This was her future. And she was ready for all of it. The wedding planning consumed the next few weeks in the best possible way. They decided on a small ceremony in the garden at the house. Just family and close friends. Nothing fancy or ostentatious. Just a celebration of love. Chloe threw herself into the preparations with enthusiasm. She helped pick flowers, chose her flower girl dress, a beautiful blue that made her eyes shine, and practiced walking down the aisle with a basket of petals. Patricia came to stay for a week to help with preparations. She and Margaret became fast friends, the two of them managing details and making sure everything was perfect. James took time off from college to be there, proud to walk his sister down the aisle. One evening, about 2 weeks before the wedding, Nathan asked Rochelle to go for a walk in the garden. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "I want to tell you something," he said as they walked hand in hand. "About Caroline." "Okay," Rochelle said gently, knowing this was important. "Before she died she made me promise something. She said, 'Nathan, don't you dare spend the rest of your life alone. Find someone who makes you laugh. Find someone who loves Chloe. Find someone who makes you want to wake up in the morning. And when you find her, don't you dare feel guilty about moving on.'" His voice caught and Rochelle squeezed his hand. She was very clear about it. She said she wanted me to be happy. She wanted Chloe to have a mother figure. She wanted our home to be full of love again. "And I want you to know that I'm not replacing her. I'm honoring her by loving again." "I know that," Rochelle said softly. "And I would never try to replace her. She'll always be Chloe's first mom. She'll always be the woman who made you into the man you are. I'm just grateful to be here now, to love you and Chloe, to build a new chapter." "That's exactly right. A new chapter. Not erasing the old one, just writing a new one." They stopped under a beautiful oak tree. Nathan pulled Rochelle close. "I need to tell you something else," he said. "That day in the cafe when you asked if you could sit with us, I'd been having a really hard morning. I'd been feeling hopeless, wondering if I'd ever feel alive again. And then you walked over and something in your eyes, some combination of fear and hope, it woke something up in me. I was terrified," Rochelle admitted. "I just lost my job. I had no money. I was desperate. But there was something about you and Chloe, the way you looked at each other with such love, it made me want to be brave. I'm glad you were brave. Because that question, 'Can I sit here?' It changed both our lives. It really did. I fell in love with you that day. Watching you with Chloe, seeing how gentle you were, how kind. By the time lunch was over, I knew I wanted you in our lives. The job offer was partly genuine need, but partly just an excuse to keep you around." Rochelle laughed. "I suspected as much. The salary was way too generous for a nanny position. I wanted to take care of you. From that very first moment, I wanted to make your life easier. You did. You saved me, Nathan. In every way a person can be saved." "No," he said firmly. "You saved yourself. You walked into that cafe with courage. You accepted help when it was offered. You loved my daughter with your whole heart. You opened yourself up to love again even though you were scared. That's not being saved. That's being brave." They kissed as the sun set behind them and Rochelle felt complete. Whatever happened next, however hard life got, they would face it together. The night before the wedding, Rochelle couldn't sleep. She sat in the garden with a cup of tea, looking at the stars, thinking about how far she'd come. "Can't sleep either?" Patricia's voice came from behind her. "Mama, what are you doing up?" Just wanted to talk to my daughter before she becomes a married woman. Patricia sat beside her. You look peaceful. I am peaceful. For the first time in my life, I feel like everything is exactly as it should be. I'm so proud of you, baby. Not just for finding love, but for being brave enough to accept it. That takes strength. I was so scared, Mama. I kept thinking I didn't deserve this. That it was too good to be true. But you do deserve it. You've always deserved happiness. You just had to wait for it to find you. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Patricia said, Your father would be so happy to see this. He always wanted the best for you and James. I think he's looking down right now, smiling. Tears streamed down Rochelle's face. I miss him. I know, baby. I miss him too. But he's here in spirit. And he'd be so glad you found a good man to love you. Nathan is good. The best. He is. And so are you. You're perfect for each other. The wedding day dawned bright and clear. Margaret and Patricia helped Rochelle get ready in her room. She wore a simple but elegant white dress, fitted at the top and flowing at the bottom. Her hair was styled in soft curls with small white flowers woven through. You look beautiful, Patricia said, tears in her eyes. Don't cry, Mama. You'll make me cry. Too late, Margaret said, dabbing at her own eyes. We're all crying. Chloe burst into the room in her blue flower girl dress. Rochelle, you look like a princess. Thank you, sweetie. You look beautiful too. Are you ready? Daddy is waiting at the altar and he looks so handsome and I think he might cry. Rochelle laughed. Then we better go put him out of his misery. James appeared at the door in his suit. Ready, sis? Ready. He offered his arm and they walked through the house and out into the garden. Chairs were set up for the small group of guests. Flowers were everywhere. And at the front, under an arch covered in white roses, stood Nathan. He wore a blue suit that matched his eyes. When he saw Rochelle, his face transformed. Pure joy. Pure love. James walked her down the aisle, Chloe preceding them and dropping flower petals with great concentration. When they reached the front, James kissed Rochelle's cheek and placed her hand in Nathan's. Take care of her, James said. Always, Nathan promised. The ceremony was simple and beautiful. They'd written their own vows. Nathan went first. Rochelle, from the moment you asked if you could sit at our table, my life changed. You brought light into our darkness. You brought love into our home. You gave my daughter the mother she needed and gave me the partner I'd stopped believing I'd find. I promise to love you every day. To support you, to laugh with you, to face whatever comes together. You're my best friend, my love, my home. I'm honored to spend the rest of my life with you. Rochelle couldn't stop crying. Nathan, you saved me when I didn't even know I needed saving. You gave me hope when I had none. You gave me a family when I was alone. You showed me that love can be simple and pure and real. I promise to love you and Chloe with everything I have. To build this life with you. To be brave when I'm scared. To always choose love. You're my miracle and I'm so grateful for every day with you. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife. When they kissed, everyone cheered. Chloe jumped up and down, clapping. Patricia sobbed openly. James whistled loudly. At the reception, set up in the garden with fairy lights strung between trees, there were speeches. James told embarrassing stories about Rochelle growing up. Elizabeth spoke about how Rochelle had brought joy back to her son and granddaughter. Margaret teared up talking about how the house felt like a home again. When it was Chloe's turn, she stood on her chair to be seen. I just want to say that I'm really happy Rochelle asked to sit at our table. Because now she's my mom and I get to keep her forever. She's the best mom ever. Well, second best because my first mom was the best too. But I love them both. And I love Daddy. And I love that we're a family. The end. Everyone laughed and clapped. Rochelle pulled Chloe into a tight hug. When it was time for the first dance, Nathan pulled Rochelle onto the makeshift dance floor. Mrs. Hayes, he said. How does it feel? Perfect. Everything feels perfect. Good. Because this is just the beginning. They danced as the sun set and the fairy lights twinkled. Family and friends surrounded them. Love filled the air. And Rochelle thought about that day in the cafe, about how a simple question had led to this moment. Can I sit here? The answer had changed her life. The answer had given her everything. Later that night, after the guests had left and Chloe was asleep, Rochelle and Nathan stood in the garden. Are you happy? He asked. Happier than I ever thought possible. Good. Because I plan to spend the rest of my life making sure you stay that way. You already do. Just by loving me. That's the easy part. They held each other under the stars, husband and wife, partners, best friends. And Rochelle sent up a silent prayer of gratitude. For courage to ask a question. For a man who said yes. For a little girl who loved her. For a family she'd found when she'd stopped looking. For love that came when she needed it most. For hope that never died even in the darkest moments. For a second chance at life. Thank you, she whispered to the universe, to fate, to whatever force had brought her to that cafe on that particular day. For what? Nathan asked. For you. For all of this. For everything. Right back at you. And they stood there in their garden, in their home, in their love, knowing that whatever came next they would face it together. As a family. Forever. 3 months after the wedding, life had settled into a beautiful new rhythm. Rochelle officially adopted Chloe, a process that was emotional and perfect. Chloe now called her mom without hesitation, and Rochelle's heart swelled every time she heard it. Mom, Mom, look at my science project. Chloe would call, and Rochelle would rush to see whatever wonderful thing the child had created. Nathan's business continued to thrive, but he made a point of being home more. He'd realized that success meant nothing without family to share it with. He worked from home several days a week, taking breaks to have lunch with his wife and daughter. Rochelle had started taking college classes online, something she'd always wanted to do but never had the opportunity. Nathan supported her completely, adjusting schedules so she had time to study. She was working toward a degree in education, thinking maybe one day she'd like to teach. You'd be an amazing teacher, Nathan told her. You're so patient and kind. I just want to help kids like Chloe. Kids who need someone to believe in them. Then that's what you should do. Patricia had moved closer, into a comfortable apartment that Nathan had helped her find and furnish. She came over several times a week, and Chloe adored having a grandmother so present. James was in his final year of college and had already been accepted to graduate school with full funding. The family had dinner together every Sunday, a tradition Rochelle had established. It was her favorite time of the week, when everyone she loved was gathered around the table, laughing and talking and simply being together. One Saturday morning, Rochelle woke to find Nathan already awake, watching her. What? She asked, smiling. Just thinking about how lucky I am. Says the billionaire to his former employee. Says the man who was dying inside to the woman who brought him back to life. She kissed him softly. We saved each other. We really did. A knock on the door interrupted them. Chloe bounced in, already dressed in a green shirt and pink pants, completely mismatched but perfectly her. Good morning. Can we make pancakes? And then can we go to the park? And then can Grandma come over? And then can we play games? Rochelle laughed. Good morning to you too, sweetheart. Yes to all of those things. In the kitchen they made pancakes together, the three of them working as a team. Flour got everywhere. Chloe managed to get batter in her hair. Nathan burned one pancake trying to flip it fancy. It was chaotic and messy and perfect. Over breakfast, Chloe announced, I want to tell my class about my family. What about your family? Nathan asked. About how you're all different but you fit together. Like a puzzle. Daddy, you're the smart piece. Mom, you're the kind piece. And I'm the fun piece. Together we make a whole picture. Rochelle felt tears prick her eyes as they so often did now when Chloe said things like this. That's beautiful, honey, she said. We do fit together, don't we? Perfectly. At the park later, they ran into some of Nathan's business associates. Rochelle had learned to handle these encounters with grace. She no longer felt like she had to prove herself. She knew who she was. She knew her worth. Rochelle. Good to see you, one of the men said. He was the one who'd been skeptical about their relationship. How are you? I'm wonderful, thank you. How are you and your family? They chatted pleasantly for a few minutes. When the man walked away, Nathan squeezed her hand. You handled that well. I've learned that the best response to skepticism is just to live well. To be happy. To prove through actions, not words. You're very wise, Mrs. Hayes. I learned from the best, Mr. Hayes. That evening, after Chloe was in bed, Nathan led Rochelle to his office. I have something to show you. On his desk was a folder. Inside were documents for a foundation. What's this? She asked. I want to start a charitable foundation. To help people like you were helped. People who are struggling, who just need a chance. I want to provide job training, medical assistance, housing help. And I want you to run it. Rochelle stared at him. Me? You. You know what it's like to need help. You know how pride can get in the way. You know how to approach people with dignity and respect. You're perfect for this. Nathan, I don't have experience running a foundation. You have something better. You have heart. You have empathy. We can hire people to handle the logistics. but the soul of the foundation, the mission that should be yours. Rochelle looked at the documents. The foundation was being named the Caroline and Rochelle Hayes Foundation. She looked up at Nathan with tears in her eyes. You're including Caroline? Of course. She always wanted to help people. This honors her memory while also honoring you. It feels right. It feels perfect. She threw her arms around him. Thank you. Thank you for believing in me. Always. The foundation launched 6 months later with a big gala. Rochelle wore a stunning red dress and stood beside Nathan as they announced their mission: to help individuals and families facing hardship, to provide assistance with dignity and respect, to give people the second chances they deserved. The response was overwhelming. Applications poured in. They helped single mothers get job training. They provided medical care to people without insurance. They assisted with housing costs for families facing eviction. They funded education for students who couldn't afford it. Every person they helped, Rochelle thought about that day in the cafe. About how close she'd come to giving up. About how one act of kindness had changed everything. One day, a woman came to the foundation office for an interview. She walked with a cane, clearly struggling with some disability. When Rochelle greeted her, the woman burst into tears. "I'm sorry," the woman said. "It's just, I saw your picture in the article about the foundation. I saw your prosthetic leg. And I thought maybe there's hope for me too." Rochelle sat with the woman for hours, listening to her story, helping her fill out applications, making plans for how the foundation could help. As the woman left, she turned back. "Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for showing people like me that life can get better. Thank you for being brave enough to ask for help," Rochelle replied. That evening she told Nathan about it. "That could have been me," she said. "If I hadn't walked into that cafe, if I hadn't asked to sit down, if you hadn't said yes. That woman could have been me. But it wasn't. And because you were brave, because you survived and thrived, you can help others now. That's the cycle. Someone helped you, now you help them. Kindness multiplying." Exactly. On their first anniversary, Nathan surprised Rochelle with a trip back to Harmony House, the cafe where they'd met. They sat at the same table, which Nathan had arranged to reserve. "1 year ago, my life changed at this table," he said. "A beautiful woman asked if she could sit here and I said yes. Best decision I ever made." "Second best," Rochelle corrected. "The best was when you offered me the job." "No, the best was when you said yes to marrying me. Actually, I think the best was when we both decided to stop being scared and just love each other." "You might be right about that." They ordered the same meals they'd had that first day. Turkey sandwich for Rochelle, salad for Nathan, hot chocolate for the memory of Chloe. "Do you ever miss your old life?" Nathan asked. "Before all this?" Rochelle considered the question seriously. "I miss the simplicity sometimes. I miss when things were less complicated. But I don't miss the struggle. I don't miss the fear. I don't miss feeling alone. So no, I don't miss it. I'm grateful for what it taught me, but I love this life so much more." "Good. Because I plan to spend the rest of forever making sure you never feel alone or scared again." "You already do that. Just by being you." They held hands across the table in the same spot where their story had begun. And Rochelle marveled at how life worked. How one moment could change everything. How asking a simple question could lead to everything you'd ever wanted. A young woman approached their table, clearly nervous. She had crutches. "Excuse me," the woman said. "I'm so sorry to interrupt. But I read about your foundation in the paper. I'm in a really hard spot right now. I lost my job and I'm about to lose my apartment. I know this is random, but I saw you here and I thought maybe it was a sign. Is there any way you could help me?" Rochelle and Nathan exchanged glances. In that look was a whole conversation. Here it was again. Someone asking for help. Someone being brave enough to reach out. "Of course we can help," Rochelle said, standing up. "Please sit down. Let's talk about what you need." As the woman sat, her eyes filling with grateful tears, Rochelle thought about cycles and kindness and how love multiplies. She'd been that woman once. Desperate and scared, asking a stranger for a simple kindness. And someone had said yes. Now she got to say yes to someone else. And somewhere down the line, this woman would say yes to another person. Kindness multiplying. Hope spreading. Love growing. That night, back at home, Chloe was already asleep. Rochelle and Nathan sat in their bedroom, getting ready for bed. "Today was perfect," Rochelle said. "Every day with you is perfect. Even the hard days? Especially the hard days. Because we face them together." She climbed into bed beside him. He pulled her close and they lay there in the darkness, comfortable and content. "Nathan." "Yes." Thank you for saying yes. To what? To when I asked if I could sit at your table. Thank you for not turning me away. Thank you for asking. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for loving me and Chloe. Thank you for being you. They fell asleep holding hands, husband and wife, best friends, partners and everything. And in her dreams, Rochelle was back in that cafe, standing by the table, asking that question. Can I sit here? And she heard Nathan's voice, warm and kind, of course. Please join us. And she knew with absolute certainty that she'd found exactly where she belonged. Forever had begun with a question. And forever would continue with love.